No, probably not. Okay, this question. It says determine FG to the nearest tenth of a meter. FG means if you drew a line from F to G. So it's asking you to find this right here, a line from F to G. Perfect. Now, with these double triangles,
the opposite.
Right, but you're right. But with these double triangles, it's important that you can identify where the two right angle triangles are. So the first one is this one, which I'm going to do in red. The second one is right here. And remember that we only are working with right angle triangles. So if there's other triangles, they're irrelevant to us because they're not right angle triangles.
It looks like it's like the same size.
They look pretty close.
But like when they be like 105.
Nah, just and like even if it looks close, don't go off that because it's not, the scale's never going to be accurate. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's never going to work out that way. If you look at these triangles, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And if I look at what they're asking me for, they're asking for this side length of the red triangle. I don't have enough information in the red triangle. And if I ignored the blue and I just looked at the red triangle, the only thing I know is one angle. They didn't give me a side length. They didn't give me another angle. They gave me nothing, basically. And with these double questions, that's going to happen all the time. They'll ask for something and then not give you enough information to solve for it. So what you need to do is somehow get more information on this red triangle. The way we do that is by finding what the two triangles share. They'll always share either a side or an angle. In this case, they share a side length. I call it the shared side. You can find this shared side by using the blue triangle. And then your red triangle will have enough information, right? So it's kind of like a two-part question. You use the blue triangle to find the shared thing. You then use that shared information to find what you want. Okay, so we'll start off by finding the shared side. The shared side is this. I'm going to call it Y. I'm using the blue triangle to find this shared side. Perfect. The first thing you always do, yeah. Oh gosh, I don't know. It's too hard for me to trigger my head like that. The first thing you always want to do is label your triangle. So I'm doing the blue triangle. So across from here, this is opposite. This is hypotenuse. This is adjacent. Right? So I got opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent. Second step is I write out Sohcahtoa. And I'm going to put check marks under what I have. On this blue triangle, I have my adjacent side. I know what it equals.
So it's O and A.
And I want to know my hypotenuse. So it's A and H because you're looking for your hypotenuse. If you check off A's and H's, you'll notice that Ka is the one with two checks.
You never have the so at one. So
Doesn't happen very often. No. It's just been coincidence. This tells me that I need to use my cosine formula. The cosine formula will always be provided for you. It's cos of an angle equals adjacent over hypotenuse. It's the normal one. Now that I know which formula I'm using, I'm plugging my values in, right? So my angle is 56. So I have cos of 56 equals the adjacent side, which is 105.5, divided by my hypotenuse side, which I don't know. Label triangle, Sohcahtoa. Put your things into the formula. Then you actually have to calculate what y is. We've learned that the trick is always like multiply or divide, right? One or the other. If y is on the bottom, we say we divide. If y is on the top, then we would say we're multiplying. My trick is that whatever the number is, you always type in your calculator first. So in my calculator, I'm going to type in 105.5. And then I decide if I'm multiplying or dividing. In this case, I want to divide because y is on the bottom. So I hit divide in my calculator. And I divide by cos of 56. And that will tell me what y equals.
188.66.
188.66? Nice. I'm going to double check. Yes, Reese.
Can you just explain the symphony spell thing again?
Yeah, for sure. It is 188.66. Nice. Sohcahtoa. So, are you good with labeling the chart? You're good with labeling it?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Sohcahtoa is like our way of choosing our formula, right? So I write out Sohcahtoa, and then I'm going to put check marks under the sides that I know and the sides I want to know. So for instance, I know the length of adjacent is this. So I put a check mark under my A's for adjacent.
Okay, yeah.
And then I want to know my hypotenuse. So I put a check under H for hypotenuse. Whichever one of these three things has two check marks, that's the formula you use. So it actually is like allowing you to pick a formula.
So what's the S?
This would be sine formula. This would be cosine formula. This would be tangent formula. So it's just your formula choices.
Awesome.
Cool. Now remember, what we just solved for was this distance here, which is not what they wanted. They wanted this distance. But the only way we could get that distance is by getting more information on this red triangle. So make sure your answer is actually what they wanted, right? Don't just stop because you're like, oh yeah, I'm good here. I'm going to go back to my triangle. I'm going to realize that this y is no longer y. It is 188.66. And then I'm going to do the question all over again, but with the red triangle only. So I need to relabel my triangle. I need to redo Sohcahtoa. I need to re-choose a formula, right? Like you're redoing the whole process. This is no longer the hypotenuse side, right? Like redo everything. Did you have? Oh, you're good? Okay. So when I go to relabel everything, this is no longer hypotenuse. I get rid of that. Heck, I'm going to get rid of adjacent and opposite too. And I'm just going to restart. In this case, x is the opposite, yeah. Right? Because across from the angle I'm working with is my opposite. This would be my hypotenuse across from the 90, making this now the adjacent. This would be A, and what are you looking for? O. Yeah, so it'd be A and O. So this would be a TOA question. Right? So you write out Sohcahtoa. And you put a check mark under O and A. One of them will have two check marks. That's the one you want to work with. And I want to work with my tangent formula. You don't have to worry about memorizing your tangent formula. I'll always provide it. If I forget, ask, I'll give it to you. Every single time, I promise. And if I forget, ask Ms. Johnson, she'll tell you. Right? Like one of us will always be here and always be able to give it to you. Awesome. Now put your numbers in, right? So now I'm putting tan of 36 because I'm in the red triangle. My opposite is x. My adjacent is 188.66. This would be a multiplying question because x is on the top. I'm still going to follow my rule, though. I'm going to write this number first Then I'm going to choose whether I multiply or divide. So I'm going 188.66. Then I'm going to decide, do I want to multiply or divide? I'm multiplying because x is on the top. So it's 188.66 times. And then I go tan of 36.
I got 137.
Beautiful. So 137.1?
Yeah, well, you can do math on it, but it said
I'll trust it.
but it's the new.
So it goes up? Yeah, I'll trust you. If you're both getting it, I trust it. And that would actually be the value now, right? So as much as these questions are by far the hardest questions we do, the process is the same. So if you can get really good at this process, now it's just applying that process to complicated situations. We'll do another one together of these double triangles. They are hard, right? If you're like feeling like you got it, work ahead, feel free, and then just check your answer when I get there to see if you got the right answer. Okay, this one. I want to start off by identifying the right angle triangles. You don't want to work with the wrong triangle. It won't work. My right angle triangles are right here. That's one. My other right angle triangle is here. There's other triangles in the question, but they're not right angle triangles. So trig doesn't work on that. So you have to work only with right angle triangles. Beautiful. That's key, right? Don't be doing trig on something that's not right angle. They want us to find J to K. J to K is not part of either of my triangles. It's part of this really big triangle, but that really big triangle is not a right angle triangle, so we can't do anything with it. So the only way we're going to figure out from J all the way to K, figure out both these little sides. If I can figure out this distance, which is part of J to K, and I can figure out this distance, which is part of J to K, I could add them together to get the whole distance, right? But you can't do it all in one calculation. You got to do a little bit at a time.
So it would be easier if you drew this small triangle somewhere else so you can actually make this.
Honestly, I've seen people do that, and it sometimes works out better. So some people like to redraw the question as two separate triangles. You could do that. Just try to really make sure you keep track of which sides are which. Yeah. Yeah, Jim. Yes, sir. Awesome. Let's start with the blue triangle because it's easier to work with. The reason the blue triangle is easier to work with is bigger. That's my opinion. Right? So I'm looking at the blue triangle. Label it opposite. Right? It's across from the 60, so this is my opposite. My hypotenuse is across from the 90, which you guys are really, really good at. And the adjacent is the third side. So I've got opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent. Let's try to find that value of y. First thing we do is Sohcahtoa to pick our formula. For this question, I'm putting check marks under opposite because I want to find my opposite. And I'm putting a check mark under A because I know my adjacent. So check marks under O and A would give me TOA. My formula for TOA is tan of theta equals opposite over adjacent. Then put things into your formula, right? Label triangle, pick a formula, now start using your formula. This will become tan of 60 degrees equals y over 3. It's 3.0. You can put 3.0 if you want, or you just put 3. My trick is I like to write the number first. So I'm going to write 30 or 3.0. And then I decide multiply or divide. Hey, I know it's going to be this. And now I'm deciding, do I want to multiply or do I want to divide? Why am I multiplying? You're right. But why is it multiplied?
Because it's on top of the number.
Because the y is on the top. So it's going to be this multiplied by tangent.
So you go 3 times tan.
Yes.
Or you go, and then you gotta go tan 60.
Yep. And that should tell you what your value of y is. When you calculate it, you should get 5.196, which we're going to say 5.2. Yeah, I'll go with that. 5.2. We really shouldn't round to our final answer, but I mean, like, I'll give you, if you're rounding all wrong, I'll always give it to you anyway, because you're doing the math right. Yes, sir.
That's a 60 at the bottom, right?
Yes, sir.
So 5.2.
Yep. And again, that doesn't answer my question, right? Like, this is only from this spot to this spot. I wanted to figure out the whole thing. So now I got to go back and do the red triangle. I'm going to give you a minute to try the red triangle on your own. So see if you can label it. That's the first step. So give everybody about 30 seconds to try to label that red triangle.
What's the add to the
Adjacent?
adjacent is the same side on this side?
Yeah. So you'll just have it both named adjacent both times.
Right, is it the adjacent I'm assuming? Is it going to be adjacent to the opposite? The opposite is where X is.
Yep. So you should be doing TOA again, right? Like, don't go through that whole process. Don't try to skip ahead, because then you're going to get yourself lost. But yes, you're on the right track. It is going to be multiply. So right now, all we're focusing on is labeling your triangle. If I labeled this, this is the degree they gave me. Across from that is my opposite right here. This is my hypotenuse, because that's my 90. And this is my adjacent. So I've got opposite, hypotenuse. Honestly, I erase my adjacent and I relabel it again anyway, and it's still adjacent.
These go times 3.
You will be doing that, yeah. Yep. Step 2, pick your formula. So I want everyone to take up, I'll give you another minute. You're going to write out Sohcahtoa and you're going to pick your formula. On the red triangle?
Yeah.
This 15 is in here. No, it's the degree. So it's not the side length. You don't know what your hypotenuse is, because the hypotenuse is the side length. So you wouldn't check H, yeah. For this question, I labeled it. I wrote out Sohcahtoa. I put a check mark under A because I knew my adjacent was 3. And I put a check mark under O because I want to find my opposite, which gave me TOA. I'll write out the formula for you. And then I want you to try to fill in the formula and then try to make the final calculation. It's going to be a super small number. If you think like 15 degrees is a really small angle, so it's probably going to connect out to a really small
It's
side.
just going to go to a 6 then, because if it's 5.2, it's just going to be a 6.
Yep. Yep.
I thought it was going to be way bigger.
That's why like those pictures are like deceiving. Yeah, Jordan. Yes, sir. Yeah, that'll make trig a little easy. And honestly, if you're getting the legwork done, like you're gonna get it right. Okay, so I chose TOA. There's the formula. I've written everything in. Right, so I have tan 15 degrees equals x, which was opposite, divided by 3, which was adjacent. I always write the number first. So even my calculator, I put 3.0 every time. Then I decide multiply or divide. I chose multiply because my letter was on the top. Letter on top means multiply. So I did 3 times and then tan of 15. If you put that in your calculator, you get a crazy low decimal. It's like 0.80 or something. We're just going to pull out the 0.8. That means this side over here is 0.8. Now remember to answer the question. Right? The question wanted to know what was this distance to this distance. So we did 2 separate calculations so that we could add our values together to get our final answer. It's 6.0. On a multiple choice test, I would probably put money on answer A would be 0.8, answer B would be 5.2, answer C would probably be 6, right? As like distractor answers. So make sure you stay focused on what the question really wanted. Don't just answer as soon as you get something. All right, let's see another one. This is a tricky one. It has to do with a rule about angles and triangles. I can't remember because I wasn't here, so I don't know if the sub chatted about this, so we'll maybe talk a little bit about it to help ourselves out. But the first thing I always want to do when I see multiple triangles, I want to try to draw my multiple triangles so I can see where the heck things are at. This is a tricky one because there is going to be 3 right angle triangles. We might not have to work with all 3, but there are 3 hidden in there. Yes, sir. Yeah, for sure. So one is this big guy right here. Another one is this guy right here. And then another one is this one right here. So I got my blue and my red and my green. I'm going to zoom in and move over a little bit. My computer doesn't sense my fingers. Like if I put my that was crazy. But it'll sense my palm, so I can like move. I have to move with my palm. It's weird.
What the adjacent side is?
Yeah, but we're gonna run into a bit of a problem, right? So our problem is that if we look at this, it wants x, which is a part of this green triangle, which we're going to assume is a 90 right here. I mean, it's a pretty safe assumption. Let me just think for a second.
Well, we got to find out what the adjacent side is.
So it's asking you for part of this green triangle. Can we stop with the can? Thank you. That's 2 days in a row. So we got this green one, right? We want this distance to this distance. If you look at the green triangle, you don't have enough information. So the green triangle gives you an angle, and that's it. So we need to find another one of these side lengths somehow. You could either find this one, which would work, or this one, which would work.
Find the bottom one would be harder to find than the adjacent one.
Well, let's talk about it. So if you're looking at this one, it'd be easy to do this one because it's part of the red triangle, right? Which is nice. But if I look at the red triangle, I don't know any angles in the red triangle, which is going to be a problem. If I look at the blue triangle and I'm like, okay, I'll find this down here, is that possible?
Yeah.
Great, because I know an angle and I know a side, so I could do this side of the blue triangle, which would give me enough of the green triangle to figure out the third side. So that actually would work, and we can avoid doing the trick I was going to talk about, which is kind of nice. So through process of elimination, I've decided that this is the side I want to find by using the big blue triangle. The red triangle is going to be kind of useless to us. We don't need to worry about it. So first step is label your big blue triangle. Your big blue triangle would be this is your opposite, this is your adjacent, this entire thing over here is your hypotenuse. We want to find our shared side, right? Our adjacent down here. To do that shared side, we do Sohcahtoa. We put check marks under O and A because we know our opposite. We want to know our adjacent. And we use our tangent formula. I'm doing the blue triangle. So I'm trying to find this side by using my big blue triangle. By finding this side, I'll then have enough information on my green triangle to find that.
So it's dividing, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Labeled, pick the formula, put your numbers into the formula. So this is tan 37 equals opposite, which is 4.9, divided by what I'm calling y. Now you decide the calculation. So you did 4.9. And Braden, did you choose to divide or multiply?
Divide.
Why did you choose to divide? You're right.
Because y is at the bottom.
Right. If y is on the bottom, or the letter's on the bottom, then you're dividing. So it's this number divided by tangent of 37. And what'd you get as your number? Braden? 6.5. Thank you, sir.
Braden, how about that?
So that gives me this side. And now, on the green triangle, I want to find x. So I do the whole process over again. So on that green triangle, relabel and redo the whole process. Don't let your old labels mess you up. So if you need to go and erase your labels, like do that. Like I usually erase them. I get rid of my adjacent, I get rid of my opposite, I get rid of my hypotenuse, and I relabel so I don't accidentally confuse my labels. When I'm looking at this green triangle, opposite is here. The 90 degrees up in the top, so that means my hypotenuse is now on the bottom. And my adjacent would be over here at x. So I've got opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse.
So
We're going to roll through Sohcahtoa.
wait, no, it's not.
We're putting checks under A and H this time because I want to know A and I do know H. So checks under A and H would give me cosine. My formula for cosine is adjacent divided by hypotenuse. That means I have cos of 37 equals x divided by 6.5. Then I can choose to multiply or divide. This question would be multiply because the letter is on the top. And when the letter is on the top, we multiply. If you throw that in your calculator, you're going 6.5 times cos of 37. You get 5.2. We're going to do one more together, and then we're going to stop for a bit. I do want to stress something. If you're doing the same as me and you're like putting this in your calculator and you're not getting 5.2, it's not your fault. It's probably your calculator. So like reach out and be like, hey, I'm putting this in my calculator, but I'm not getting 5.2. And I'll come fix your calculator for you. Okay? But don't sit there silent and being frustrated if your calculator's just not working. All right, so if you put that in your calculator and didn't get 5.2, speak up. Say something.
I was just wondering if you can move the tabs there for a second.
Oh, yeah. That better?
Yeah.
If you can even read that fuzziness, that's crazy. The next question, I want you to try completely on your own. So just give it a go. I'll go over it with everybody in about 3-4 minutes. And then I'll give you some time to practice. So I want everyone to be trying question number 4. Just give it a go.